Hello, everyone. Let's go. Something happened to them the moment they were near you, and they have not been able to explain it to themselves since. Not for lack of trying, they have tried, in the particular obsessive way of someone whose mind keeps returning to a problem it cannot solve, keeps circling the same set of facts, and finding that the facts do not add up to anything manageable. The feeling was too large. The onset was too fast. There was no gradual warming, no incremental development of interest that would have given them time to prepare, to build the appropriate distance, to file what they were feeling into a category small enough to carry without disrupting everything else they were carrying. It arrived whole, fully formed, with the specific, disorienting weight of something that had apparently been waiting for the right conditions and then, finding them, released itself all at once into a body that was not braced for it. That body has not recovered. Weeks, possibly, months, possibly. The timeline doesn't matter as much as the persistence, the fact that what arrived has not diminished the way ordinary attraction diminishes, has not faded into the background noise of a busy life, has not been metabolized into something smaller and more manageable by the ordinary processes of time and distraction that handle most feelings adequately. This feeling refused those processes, sat in the front of their awareness, and refused to move to the back, kept its original size, kept its original temperature, kept returning in the unguarded hours with the same force it arrived with as if it had not been experienced once, and filed but was being experienced again, freshly, every time they were not actively engaged in preventing the experience. They stopped being able to prevent it. Overwhelmed, the word is doing real work here and deserves to be inhabited rather than passed over. To be overwhelmed is not merely to be impressed, not merely to feel strongly, not even to feel more strongly than expected. It is a structural event. It is what happens when a force exceeds the capacity of the existing structure to contain it, when the levees that a person has built through long experience and conscious effort to regulate the flow of feeling through their system are simply insufficient to the volume of what arrived, not broken by force, exceeded by volume. The water didn't attack the wall. There was just more of it than the wall was built for, and it went over. You were more than their wall was built for. This is worth sitting with, not as flattery, but as information. Because the walls people build are calibrated to their experience, they are built to height of previous floods, plus a reasonable margin of safety, the way all flood protection is built. And what that means is that when something exceeds the wall, it tells you something specific about its size relative to everything that came before it. Relative to every person this person has encountered before encountering you. Relative to every feeling they had previously developed the infrastructure to manage. The overflow is the measurement. The fact of being overwhelmed is the data point. And the data point is this: what they felt for you was larger than everything they had previously needed to contain, larger than their entire prior history of feeling prepared them for. Pursuit. Not the hunting kind, stop there, that image is too cold for what this actually is. Pursuit in the older sense, the sense of a person moving in a direction because they cannot conceive of moving in any other direction, because the alternative, not moving, staying still, allowing the distance to persist has become physically uncomfortable in a way that stillness usually is not. They are not hunting prey, they are moving toward water because they are thirsty, moving toward warmth because they are cold, moving toward you because you are the thing their system has identified as the thing it needs. And their system is not currently accepting the argument that the needing should be suppressed. The argument was made. They made it to themselves, probably more than once, with more sophistication and more supporting evidence than most people bring to self persuasion. They know the reasons. They enumerated them. They stacked them up and stood back and evaluated them and found them reasonable, compelling, even. The kind of reasons that, under normal circumstances, would be sufficient to redirect a feeling towards something more manageable. And the feeling looked at the reasons and was not moved, remained exactly where it was, continued doing exactly what it had been doing, which was occupying more and more of their interior landscape with the specific, stubborn, cannot be argued with presence of something that had decided it was not leaving. The reasons failed, the feeling won. The pursuit is the consequence. Here is what the pursuit looks like from the inside of it. Every interaction with you or every thought of you in the absence of interaction produces a specific physical response that they have learned to recognize, even as they have failed to stop producing it. A change in the quality of attention, a particular alertness that is not anxiety but resembles it in the way it activates the body. The way conversation with you, or the anticipation of it, shifts something in their chest into a different register, higher, louder, more present, that ordinary conversation does not shift. The way your name, encountered unexpectedly, does something to the rhythm of their breathing that they notice precisely because they did not choose it. These are not chosen responses. They are involuntary. They are the body reporting, without being asked for a report, on the state of something the mind has been trying to manage and the body has been refusing to cooperate with managing. The body is pursuing you even when the mind has decided to be still. This is the specific texture of being overwhelmed by attraction, the gap between what the cognitive self has determined is the appropriate response to a situation and what the somatic self is producing regardless of that. Determination. The mind says, maintain composure. The body says, I don't work for your composure. The mind says, this is not the right time. The body says, I do not recognize timelines. The mind says, this person may not want this. The body says, then find out. The body is relentless in a way the mind is not. It does not tire of its own insistence. It does not negotiate. It simply continues producing the response every time the stimulus occurs, with exactly the same intensity as the first time, as if repetition should create habituation and does not. They are not habituating to you. The opposite is happening. Why you specifically? Not a rhetorical question. The answer exists and matters because the overwhelming did not happen to them with everyone. They have encountered many people and been interested and been attracted and experienced the ordinary spectrum of human response to other humans without anything resembling what happened in their encounter with you. So the question of why you is a real question with a real answer, even if the answer is not fully legible yet, even to the person whose body is producing it. What you carry that they respond to is something at a specific frequency that their system is tuned to without their knowledge, not their preferred frequency, the frequency they have consciously decided they respond to, the type they believe they are drawn to, the version of a person their past experience has led them to expect will produce this response. You are not that. You are something else. You arrived from a direction they were not monitoring, activated a response in a register they did not know was available, reached into a layer of them that no constructed preference had ever reached, because constructed preferences operate at the surface, and what you touched in them is not at the surface. It is whatever is deepest. And the deepest things, when touched, do not respond proportionally. They respond with everything they have. The move toward you is already happening, not metaphorically, not as a spiritual observation about the direction of energy, as a practical, observable fact about behavior, something in the way they orient toward you in shared spaces, something in the quality and frequency of contact they initiate, something in the specific way they find reasons, manufactured reasons, transparent reasons, reasons that are obviously pretexts to anyone paying attention to be in your vicinity, to extend conversations that could naturally conclude, to return to exchanges that were complete, to find the thread of connection and pull it in the direction of more rather than less. The pursuit has a behavioral signature. It is already writing itself in the small, repeated, almost deniable actions of someone whose body is taking them toward you because their mind has given up fighting the taking. Watch the small, repeated actions, not the grand gestures. Grand gestures are for people who have decided and are performing the deciding. The real pursuit lives in the actions that happen before the deciding, in the gap between what a person intends and what their body does, in the evidence of someone being moved by something larger than their own conscious direction. The evidence accumulates. It has been accumulating. And at some point, the accumulation crosses the threshold from deniable to undeniable for them as much as for you, and the pretexts give way to something more direct. What this requires you to understand about yourself, you produced this, not through strategy, not through the calculated deployment of attractiveness, not through any deliberate management of impression, through the simple, unavoidable, completely yours fact of being who you are, in proximity to someone whose system was built to respond to exactly that. The catalyst was your presence, your specific, unrepeatable, not designed for this effect presence. And the production of this response in this person is information about what you carry, about the specific frequency you operate at, the specific depth you reach, the specific combination of qualities that your system produces simply by functioning that bypasses all the ordinary screening mechanisms and lands directly in the place where the unmanageable responses live. You are not easy to encounter and walk away from unchanged. This is becoming clearer. This person is the evidence of it. The overwhelmed, pursuing, cannot stop the body from doing what the body is doing evidence that you are the kind of person who leaves a mark in the specific, involuntary way that marks are left not through force but through contact with something real that the person being marked did not have a defense against. Because no one builds defenses against things they have never encountered. Before, they had never encountered anything like you before. They still have not found their footing. They are still moving toward you with the specific helplessness of something that has been set in motion and is discovering that the motion does not stop when it is told to stop, does not respond to reason, does not diminish with time, does not know how to be anything other